What's up, everyone? Thomas here with ForReel Movie News and Reviews, and Sundance is in full swing. So I decided to take a pause and get some of my favorite people on the line so that we can talk about what movies we have seen and yeah, just have a mid-festival discussion. Joining is ForReel writer and content creator Taylor Beaumont.
Good to be back. It's been a little while since I was on this thing, but it's good to be back. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to have you back, and fun to talk Sundance movies while the festival's going on. And another person who is fun to talk about Sundance films with is Taylor Baker from Drinking the Movies in Seattle.
Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go ahead and hop into some movie discussions. We have movie titles that we have all seen and are excited to talk about. And the first one that we're going to start with is one that I think that was a favorite of all of ours, which is After Yang, directed by Kogenaga and also written by Kogenaga, starring Colin Farrell and Jodie Turner-Smith. The short synopsis reads: in a near future, the family reckons with questions of love, connection, and loss after their AI helper unexpectedly breaks down. So this one played early on in the festival. It had its premiere on Friday with, of course, second screenings after that. Who wants to start? Baker, I feel like this is one that you're going to have a lot to say about.
I do. I'll first correct you and say it's director, writer, and editor Kogenaga.
My bad.
Additionally, this is the film that I experienced the fact that there was no lobby with, and I frantically texted you like, how do I join the lobby?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I was very disappointed that there wasn't that like communal experience to start this film out with, especially. I did stay for the Q&A though, which kind of simulated that experience that we had last year. But this is a beautiful film that really underlines the complaint that I have about 540p, because it would have been so much more beautiful to be in this low grade sci-fi world. If we could really see those pictures that Kogenaga put so much effort into the framing, the staging, the production design of, it's a deeply emotional and impactful film. I don't know about you guys, but this is a movie that sits kind of on a tier that's different than the rest of the movies I've seen. It's my favorite film of the festival, but it's not necessarily like traditionally a film that I feel like is has one thing I can point to that says why it's the best film that I've seen. It's just one of those feeling movies, kind of like his previous film Columbus, where what I have taken with me from it is just so personal that it seems like nothing's going to be able to go over that.
Yeah, Beaumont, do you feel the same way? Do you have any other thoughts about it?
Absolutely, yeah. I would echo a lot of what Baker's saying. It's one of the films that, while it wasn't as immediate maybe as some of the other films I've seen, it's definitely given me a lot to sit with and stew over in the passing days since I've seen it. It just kind of keeps evolving and developing itself just like in my head and just giving me all these new ideas and things to think about. It's one to ruminate on, definitely, after the fact. And it's just more headier, I think, than the other films. Not to again put the other films down, but there's just a lot more concepts going on, a lot more kind of philosophical ideas going on, existential questions going on, that just really kind of, it's a meatier film in that way. But at the same time, it's a briefer offering from Kogenaga. It was only I think only like a 90-minute film, maybe a little over that. So it kind of it breezed a little by me a little quicker than I thought it would. But like I said, it just kind of, as I've thought back on it, there's been more and more that I've wanted to kind of explore and think about. And that's been really exciting about it. And of course, kind of like Baker said, the visuals are amazing. Just such a lush world and color palette. It all comes together with Kogenaga. You just kind of want to live in the film for longer than you're able to. So yeah, it was a treat. I really liked it.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with everything you guys are saying. I mean, having mentioned VR, one thing that I thought about while watching this film is, man, this would have actually been really cool if it was a super ambitious project to have been done in VR. That would have been incredible. But as it is, yeah, I think it's amazing. I would like to revisit it in high definition. That would be nice as well. But yeah, so much to really chew on in this film. And even though, so it does have a pretty breezy runtime, but I think that it packs a lot into that time. And it's interesting because it's not like there's a whole lot of like I don't entertainment value, I guess. I don't know. It's so slice of life to me, but it also does such a great job with expressing the themes and the and you know what this family is kind of dealing with in that slice of life. And it's so, I found it to be so satisfying. And yeah, something that I thought about quite a bit after you know, after the fact. So yeah, any other thoughts on this? Anything that not that one thing that I was going to say is I didn't have the chance to get to Columbus before this one, so I'm going to have to go back and watch Columbus and then be able to compare the two. I think this is a festival where I'm really trying to embrace watching the previous works of artists. I know that there are a couple of films where I did go back and watch most of the catalog of the director's work, and so I would really like to go back and watch Columbus when I have some time to be able to sit with that and then be able to do better comparison.
So you said compare the two. I think what you meant to say is love the two. I think that's really what you were trying to get at there.
I mean, you John Cho is in Columbus, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, I really appreciate him as an actor, and I think he chooses really great projects. So
Haley Lou Richardson is also in it. She plays that side character who's very important in After Yang. I do think that one of the interesting things that Kogonada did this time around with the memory bank of the Techno Sapien is very reminiscent to what we saw in 9 Days, where he kind of used this short film structure in a feature film format, where he took all these great moments with excellent sound design and edited them together in the narrative proper and had them be an experience that the main character is having. And there's a little layering there that really shows his previous work as an editor and short filmmaker, but also that he comprehends how to make them, even those moments, more emotional in a feature film by the way that he presented them. I think there's something really interesting there in that choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I did appreciate, because when they first mentioned, oh yeah, these memories happen in clips that are only a few seconds long, I'm like, well, what do you do with that? Like, how do you get meaning out of, you know, these random clips that are only a few seconds, and then it happens.
You watch it over and over and over again.
You do. You put it on repeat, but even better, kind of like you're saying, you then stitch them together into this very interesting short film kind of narrative, which again goes to how great of an editor he is and how wonderfully this movie is pieced together. So yeah. Any last thoughts on After Yang?
I love it, and I hate 540p.
Yes.
And you should watch Columbus.
And yes, I should watch Columbus. And whoever else out there, because it's funny what happens when I go back and watch a film that everyone's already seen. I then text Baker and I'm like, wow, this movie is amazing, why has nobody told me about this? And it's like, but I did.
No one told me about it.
I guess before we move on, I will say that out of what I've seen so far, Colin Farrell's role here is the best performance by a lead actor I've seen at the festival.
Oh, a lead actor. I think so. I think there's a lot of great performances from lead actresses, but I think you make a good point as far as lead actor. Cool. Let's move on to the next film I want to discuss here, which is one that I was super excited about before the festival. And it is When You Finish Saving the World, the feature directorial debut of Jesse Eisenberg, starring Julianne Moore and Finn Wolfhard. The synopsis reads, Evelyn and her oblivious son Ziggy seek out replacements for each other as Evelyn desperately tries to parent an unassuming teenager at her shelter, while Ziggy fumbles through his pursuit of a brilliant young woman at school. I have a lot to say about this, but Beaumont, let's start with you and see. Let's get your thoughts first.
Well, as we kind of discussed before, I Well, first of all, I'll say what I liked about it, and that's that it explores a relationship between a mom and her son, which I just feel we don't get a lot in movies. It's like that combatants that goes on between a mom and a son, that are kind of just on different wavelengths, where you're kind of expecting them to at least see things a little eye to eye to a certain extent, but that they're in. This is an interesting movie because they're both kind of like these really selfish, self-involved characters.
Mhm.
So that was kind of what took me out of it as well, because they're hard characters to like,
Mhm.
but just exploring that kind of that rift that can form in a family, between the mom and the son, and how I also like that it didn't give us the nice, easy, happy,
Mhm.
the mom and the son team up in the end and they solve their differences and they make the best, TikTok song you've ever heard or something like that, like I'm glad it didn't go that direction.
Right.
But it went other directions, that just didn't work for me either. And that's just that it didn't feel like a really fleshed out film. It just kind of got stymied in the one kind of idea it was trying to explore. Unlikable characters kind of at the end of the day. Although there were certain aspects that kind of endeared you to them. I thought the performances were really good. I like Julianne Moore. I mean, you can't knock Julianne Moore at this
Mhm.
point. And Finn Wolfhard kind of won me over at the end. I wasn't sold on him at the beginning, but then it just kind of spoke to how much of not a teen I am anymore. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I don't understand teenagers anymore. So there was that going on. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it was just kind of one of those stories that felt a lot better suited if it was just like a 45-minute episode of some HBO family drama. I felt like that would have been like, okay, like that was a good episode, like we explored a new side of this family that I didn't know was going on. But like as this feature film, I just felt it was a little undercooked. Could have used more oomph, I guess, just more dramatic tension, more payoff, I guess, at the end. So I'm a little lukewarm on it. Kind of leaning more towards not really liking it, but I did like some aspects of it, and Jesse Eisenberg as a director, still has some ways to go, but I think he's got some things going for him right now that I think could be interesting down the line. So yeah.
Yeah. Baker, do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts here?
Positive. It is a movie. I'll give it that. As far as otherwise, though, I think that with directorial debuts, and this has plagued a few other directorial debuts I've seen here at the festival. I don't care how long you've been acting, you should have a character that's your main character. And this fails to do that. It tries to straddle two, and it tries to straddle two unlikable characters that don't really have anything meaningful to say. If anything was meaningful about their narrative, it would be the journey of self-exploration and small lessons that they go on. But by being restrained from being wholly with either one of them, that stuff kind of goes to the wayside, and it's not impactful in any tangible way where you finish the film and you think about things. Or as Beaumont was just talking, I forgot that I watched this movie and then that I had to remember it. I was confusing it with Duel. So
we'll get to Duel as well a little bit later on.
yeah, I mean, I think that they each do their jobs as far as actors. Finn Wolfhard and Julianne Moore, they do their jobs, but what that job is uninteresting, and ultimately that's Jesse Eisenberg's fault, because as you informed me, Thomas, he wrote the book that the film's based on, and it does not feel like it needed to be a film. It feels like just something that came about because of who he is, and not a sincere expression of the art form for any real meaningful reason. So I don't like it, but I also don't think it's terrible. I'm out on Eisenberg as a director, but as a storyteller, I'm not interested in straddling the line without being committed to telling a specific story. I think that's a little bit of a cop out.
Yeah, I agree with just about everything you guys said. In fact, I would venture to say I'd agree with everything you guys said. I actually wrote a review on this film where I did think about about it a lot. I don't think I made any secret on Twitter how much I was looking forward to a Jesse Eisenberg directed film. This is I for some reason am like drawn to his work, especially as an actor, and I can't really explain why. It's just, and I also can't say that everything he's done has been amazing. And so, but I was interested in seeing how this turned out. And in my review, the observation that I made is this felt very, very anthological. I think this shows that Jesse Eisenberg could have directed a really great episode of something, or not really great, like a good episode of something. Because what I found in this movie is that there are 3 stories happening here. And interestingly enough, the one between the mom and the son is like the least explored story of the whole movie. There's, Julianne Moore, who's like parenting this kid, which I don't know. I haven't heard, because it was an audiobook, and I haven't heard the audiobook, but the level of obsession that her character has for parenting this kid almost borderline was, in some ways, almost romantic in a sense. Like, she had to lie about taking him out to dinner, which doesn't really demonstrate genuine intentions, I guess, or yeah, just so I thought that whole relationship just didn't work for me. I saw what it was going for, but I could not figure out, like, is she like interested in this kid? Why is she lying about what she's doing with him if it's earnest, so that was weird. And then there's the very standard love story between Finn's character and his crush at school, and I didn't find that super compelling. But it's like the culmination of these 3 stories was supposed to amount to something great, and ultimately we get to the end, and spoiler alert, nothing is resolved. I think the Finn's character doesn't actually resolve anything with the love interest. Julianne Moore's character kind of gets shut down from this kid that she's trying to parent, and then that's kind of where it's left. And then the main relationship between Julianne Moore's character and Finn's character kind of ends with kind of a look at each other, and you kind of are left to assume what happens after that. And I don't know, maybe you do imagine that they go make a great TikTok song if you really want them to, but
no, I don't want to imagine that.
No, you
she gave his, I don't know, like, she finally started paying more attention to her son, I guess, is what happened at the end. Like, she gave his music a chance.
Yeah, and he gave her work a chance, but like, what does that ultimately mean?
Yeah.
Like, what did that mean for their relationship? Which again, I thought was entirely which was the most minimized of the 3 stories.
Wait. Wasn't the point that the only song from him that she liked was the one that he didn't write? I thought that was the point.
I didn't get that point. I think that was the one where he kind of felt self-actualized in a way, because the
last song she listens to is the one from the girl that she wrote. Well, yeah, and that's the only one that she listened to the whole song of.
I think what was trying to be conveyed there is that she's giving his music a chance, and that just happened to be the most popular song that he had, or at least maybe the most recent song that he had. But she actually
skipped through a bunch, but she only listened to one all the way, and it's that one. So it's the thing that she appreciated about her son wasn't even the thing that her son did himself. I thought that's the point.
She was an activist as a younger woman.
Interesting. I just read it as she's just listening to clips of his music, and it was a breezy way to get to the conclusion. Like that's kind of how I read it. But it is interesting that
it was, yeah.
Right. I guess it is interesting that the one that is most recognized is the song that he didn't write, which maybe goes to how vain his music was.
Yeah.
And maybe,
or the whole family is.
No, these aren't likable characters.
Does he fit the dad throws there when they
the way
when
the
they
dad
don't show up for his award ceremony?
I feel so, you know what, the dad does not get enough credit in this movie. He is entirely ignored by
No,
the
I know
family,
he is, but it's just,
family and by the script. Like the script just like totally mistreats this dad and then just like leaves
Well, I
him
think that's the
hanging.
one thing Eisenberg pulls off, right? That's like the one great thing that he pulls off is that idea
How
of the dad
passive the
always
dad
being
is.
overlooked.
yeah.
But there's no consequences to it, right? He's just like, oh, okay, then are you okay? I'm reading this article, right? Like,
Well, there's
there
no
wasn't really
consequences to the movie.
there's no consequences to the movie, and maybe
No.
that's what I'm coming to is when I say that so much is left undone because there are no consequences. I really do think that with this inappropriate relationship that Julianne Moore's character was having with this teen that she was trying to parent, I guess, like she's lying, she's overstepping her boundaries, she's being too intrusive. What are the consequences there, right? There weren't any, and it's unfortunate
That the movie's bad.
Yes, that was I suffered the biggest consequences. I was really, really excited for this film, and
we're the victims here.
yes, I am the victim. So that was the consequence. I mean, to end on a positive note, I think there is promise for Jesse Eisenberg to hopefully take things from this production and learn from them and build better stories, or maybe even just direct other people's writing for a while, and hone that directorial skill if that's the direction he wants his career to go in. I think he does have the capability for it. This, as Baker said, it's a movie, and that's what it is.
Definitely is a motion picture.
It's a motion picture. The pictures move in this one.
Yeah.
He's no Paul Dano. That's what I'll say.
He's so Paul Dano.
Oh man. Any other thoughts on that when you finish saving the world, or have we fleshed out how much we
next one?
Yes, have we fleshed out what we didn't like more than the movie fleshed out its story, huh? Moving on. So the next one we're going to talk about is one that we all actually just got done watching, which is Alice, the directorial debut from Kristen Verlinden, who is also the writer, and it's starring Keke Palmer and Common, of course also being a composer on the film. The short synopsis reads: a slave in the antebellum South who escapes from her secluded plantation only to discover a shocking reality that lies beyond the tree line. And it's funny. So with this one, I was watching it, and there's this the opening, or I guess the first act, where it all happens on this plantation, and then Keke Palmer's character gets away and runs past off the plantation and then out into the road, and I go, what? And I had to text Baker like, wait a minute, what's happening? And he says, Thomas, did you not read the synopsis? No, Baker, I did not read the synopsis. It has Keke Palmer. What else do I need to know? So yeah, that was actually quite a surprise for me. I did not realize what this movie, I mean, I knew kind of that what the movie was about, the subject matter, but I didn't actually read the synopsis. So that was a nice surprise. I was like, oh, well, that was an interesting twist. Just delete the synopsis from everything and have people all have that like, what the F moment when she runs into the highway.
The synopsis is definitely there in the synopsis, but what it doesn't, I guess, prepare you for is that like what kind of genre this movie is. Like, is it sci-fi? Is it gonna be like a surreal kind of journey? Is it gonna be kind of like an inner like mind journey, or is it an actual thing that's going on? And that's what I guess this the twist is in this movie, or not the twist, but just like where the direction it goes about halfway through. Anyways, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I'll start with this one. I like Keke Palmer as an actor. I think she has grown a lot as an actor. I remember her in Aquila and the Bee, which is a movie that I really like, but obviously she was really young in that one, and had and from there went on to develop a really long career in acting. So I really like following her as an actress, and I think that she did a really great job with her acting in this movie. Maybe it doesn't rise to the same kind of echelons of like Regina Hall in Master, but I appreciated it, and so I think the movie held my attention And I was invested into it up until the third act. There is an activism component to this film that is targeted to an audience, that's targeted to people who are still very hurt and very affected by the slavery situation that took place in America, and are rightfully so angry. And so this movie kind of takes that anger and frustration out on this particular premise. And I think that for some, that's going to work really well. For some people, I think are going to really resonate with that and really attached to that theme and that way to approach the story. And I think it might lose some people because I think it might get a little bit too, I don't want to use the word pandering, but like maybe a little bit too on the nose with what it's trying to accomplish. So I don't know. That's kind of where I stood on the film. Baker, I'll have you go next on this one.
All right. Yeah, you said pandering. I think that I'd say it's reductive. What it does, the moments where she opens a book and it's already at the right exact thing and she reads it and it's narrated, like it's just I was totally removed from the film at that point.
It was middle of the encyclopedia, just naturally opened.
Like it, yeah. But I checked out of the movie at the hospital. Actually, that's when I started to get the sense that
early,
that the tone that they'd built was being abandoned for something that was not honed. I think there's a clear tone in the beginning of the film. Mm-hmm. And it really dissolves on the highway. And once you're at the hospital and Common leaves, there's just kind of this attempt at making a fish out of water that doesn't feel at all sincere. And then Kiki's constantly like having the best luck of all time, like she's Spartan 117 and just everything is going her way or something. It's one of the most absurd times I've had at the festival as far as the luck of a main character after the terrible things happen. I don't think I was intrigued by any of the artistic choices as far as direction. I think that Johnny Lee Miller is his name, gave a very intriguing and troubling performance. Kiki definitely had her moments, but I think that I'll enjoy her more in Nope, and I expect this film will be acquired and distributed right after Jordan Peele's next film comes out in July, because what better way to release this film than after she stars in a more successful Jordan Peele movie. But here, he plays kind of a caretaker character that's reduced, and the storyline about his mother is really forced and never built up. We're going to talk about a film later called Cha-Cha Real Smooth, and the differences between these side characters being developed and feeling real in Cha-Cha Real Smooth versus here is very severe, and you get the sense that all these people are just here for a role, and you don't even get the sense that Keke Palmer's character is fully developed and actualized as a person. It's unfortunate because this is a really interesting premise, but like I told you, Thomas, when you were texting me how surprised you were at what was happening in the film, I want the same premise for a movie, but it's 2120. They go get tanks, then they come back and just murder people for 2 hours. Like I just want pure exploitation.
I feel like there's a Quentin Tarantino film in there somewhere.
There's an attempt at one in the movie we just watched. I just want a full on one. I want full. Let's go kill the slavers. Let's make that movie.
Yeah, it's interesting because so the suspension of disbelief when it comes to like a plantation existing in the 70s is when this movie takes place.
73.
Suspension of disbelief that's the case. I think that this movie kind of abandons a realistic portrayal of how this would go when you get to the freeway, because I'm trying to think, if I jumped hundreds of years into the future, would I be that calm about it? Right? Like, I think that there's a lot that the movie is just kind of like trying to get to the point, and when it's trying to get to the point of the activism and the getting back and trying to destroy what the plantation and everything. That's what it's trying to get to, and I don't think that the journey there is a sincere storytelling. I think that it's just a means to that end. Is kind of how
You
I
think
felt.
that Common should have said, "Where did you come from?" Maybe once, just maybe. I don't know. Call me crazy.
No. I think, and there's also a lot of pausing, just a lot of like holding off of information. Like, I don't know. Like, I would have to go back and watch it and like point out parts where it's like, oh, this is a really good time to say this really crucial piece of information about your past, right? Like, and it just doesn't happen. She like pauses, she thinks over it. She's like, there is even one part where she says, "I know who I am," and he says, "Well, who are you?" And she says, "I am me." And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, we're really stretching this runtime, aren't we?
Yeah. Finn Wolfhard is writing this dialogue.
Yeah, right. So I think there's some problems with that as well. But again, I still purport that this is a movie that's meant for a particular audience. Beaumont, what did you think?
I mean, I'm probably not going to bring too much to the table that you guys already haven't said. I just felt like it was very like ham-fisted, and the whole premise is fast-tracked. Like you said, there's just so many plot holes with just like characters not saying what they would probably say in that situation, and just like getting to that point in the story where it's just like, oh yeah, and she opens a book and it's on the right page, and now this is her, that she's gonna be this now, and she's right. Like it's just like I was just kind of rolling my eyes at that point, and I didn't want to, because I was at the beginning I was kind of on board for to a certain extent. I really liked the score at the beginning, with kind of like the bass saxophone going on. I was really kind of on board for that, and I don't know, it's just kind of cool, like her discovering the Zippo lighter or whatever like that, just the kind of the anachronism in the world, and what's this technology and kind of things like that. That was kind of cool. But then I realized that this movie was literally becoming M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. I was like, oh no. and I don't want to take away from the fact that obviously this is based on real life, and these kind of things did happen back in the 70s still to a certain extent. I haven't done the full research, so I can't substantiate that myself. But it was clumsy and cliche and thinly written kind of at the end. It lost me.
I think there's a lot of we were talking before we started recording, there's a lot of activism films at Sundance this year, and particularly a lot of Black activism films, which is great to get that exposure and to be telling those stories. I think of those activist films, this one was the hardest for me to connect with, I think, just because of all of these missteps in storytelling and filmmaking, CinemaSins, I guess maybe you can even call them, which and I'll say this one more time, some people will forgive to get to that end goal of the finale in the third act. But yeah, for me, as someone who's watched Master and who's watched Emergency and these other Black activist films, I think that this one could have done better, I think. So anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to the next one, which I think we're all going to have fun talking about, and that is Fresh, which is the directorial debut of Mimi Cave, written by Lauren Kahn, starring Daisy Edgar Jones and Sebastian Stan. The short synopsis reads: the horrors of modern dating seen through the one young woman's defiant battle to survive her new boyfriend's unusual appetites. So this one was very interesting. Baker, we'll start with you. What did you think here?
I will hand right off to Beaumont, because I think that he liked this movie more than I did and has a lot more to say.
yeah, Beaumont, you actually your review is published on this one now.
That's right. Yeah. This is one that got my pen moving kind of right away. I just came out of it feeling energized by movies in a way. Not that I'm not calling it the greatest of the festival or anything like that. I think I'm kind of leaning more to After Yang on that one. But this is a really fun film. It kind of subverted my expectations, while at the same time it kind of toes a very line of kind of cliche and like, oh yeah, we've seen this before. But then it kind of flips that, a lot of that as well. You could easily watch the first 20 minutes, half hour of this movie and be like, oh, I've seen this a million times before, like beat for beat, like, yep, But yeah, and while there aren't like a ton of twists and turns, I thought the ones we got were really exciting. Just visually, I just liked how it was shot, just like the use of red throughout the film. I like both the performances. I thought Sebastian Stan was awesome in this. I've only ever really seen him in as the Winter Soldier in Marvel movies before. So it was just cool to see him having, I think, just looked like a lot more fun with a role where he's clearly just kind of, he's just a character, and I said this in my review, of just, he's like, just using his good looks and just like all the ways that you fear, just like that these kind of guys would, which is just to break the guards down of just like every woman they meet and then just take full advantage in the worst possible way. It was yeah, it was a lot of fun. All the needle drops along the movie were really cool. Mimi Cave, the director, has her experience as a music video director. That's kind of where her pedigree comes from, along with some short films. But yeah, like just the way she uses needle drops in here made this film kind of feel like an operatic kind of horror film, because I didn't take it to be that, that frightening of a horror film. It wasn't like, oh, what's going to happen next. It was more just kind of like, it was in the genre, and it just made some really kind of bombastic music choices to kind of like invigorate the genre as it was going. If that kind of makes sense. So yeah, no, I enjoyed it a lot. It had some funny lines in it. And I guess I wish we had seen more of the like the secret society of cannibals that's kind of hinted at throughout the movie. You kind of get just mostly flashes of it happening. But granted, I guess they kind of wanted to keep this clearly like kind of the captive versus captor, one location kind of horror film. So fair enough. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it a lot.
I feel like that society there's probably some like I don't know, Netflix miniseries that can be spun off for that particular
Hulu.
I'm sorry, you're right, Hulu. My bad. Sorry, Disney. I didn't mean to upset you. Yeah, Hulu series that could be spun off with that that particular world involved. And I'm sure lots of stories that can be told with other people who are doing the same things that Sebastian Stan's character was. But as far as this movie goes, I don't think I have a whole lot to say about it, except that I enjoyed it. It's a fun time. I think that there's not a whole lot of analyzing to do here. It's a cannibalism film, and it's funny, a good horror comedy, I think. Those are hard to come by, and I think this one succeeds on a lot of levels, most of which Beaumont's already touched on. So I'll just say I enjoyed the experience and the performances, and it's not the most original thing ever, but it's also not so cliche that you roll your eyes. I think this is a fun one to have a fun time with. Baker, your turn now.
I am wounded by Beaumont's likening of The Village to Alice, so I will attack fresh by calling it a worse Tusk. No, I liked this movie. It's a fun, like, late night unserious horror romp. Mm-hmm. The choice of the opening credits, 38 minutes in or whatever, mm-hmm. is an interesting one. I do like that they split it that way. As Beaumont was mentioning, this is more of the Sebastian Stan that we've seen hints of in I, Tonya, where he's playing like this big machismo like character that's actually very small internally. And I think that's particularly interesting, how he can pull off this this reputational character that kind of seeps into every single scene, even though when he's in a scene, he disappears and it's all the other people in the scene that are actually more important. It's interestingly effective, and I don't know if that's so much his acting talent or Mimi Cave's direction, but both of them really surprised and thrilled me here. I came for Daisy Edgar Jones from Normal People. It was great to see her again. This isn't quite the role that I'd imagined that she would take after watching Normal People, but she delivered it really well. And as I was hinting at earlier with the Hulu miniseries, I believe this becomes available on Hulu on March 3rd in the United States. So anybody that didn't get a chance to see it at Sundance can see it then.
Yeah. Awesome. I think we've covered that one pretty well. Yeah.
Well, Beaumont didn't agree that Tusk is better yet.
I haven't seen Tusk actually, so
what?
I know. I'm sorry. I'll just say
Call yourself a cinephile, no Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Blind spot. It's okay.
One more thing, which is that this film was filmed in Vancouver. So
nice. Yes, Vancouver film. Actually, yeah, I think I'm trying to think, was there a scene where they're outside and I'm thinking that looks familiar? But
well, that's kind of what I was doing when I was watching it. I had a lot of those like, is that Vancouver? No. It could be though. No. They film in some very nondescript places. Like I couldn't tell you a location they actually filmed in, but it just kind of, I was like, this feels like Vancouver. Just like had that thought in the back of my mind. And then I watched the Q&A afterwards, and yeah, they say Vancouver. They all had to fly over to Vancouver and quarantine here for 2 weeks before filming or whatever. And I was just like, ha! I knew it.
Yeah.
So visit Vancouver if you want to be eaten slowly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's funny. We'll move on to one that I'm not going to be very thrilled about talking about. So the next movie we'll talk about is Duel. This is a film from writer-director Riley Stearns, starring Karen Gillan and Aaron Paul. The short synopsis reads: a woman opts for a cloning procedure after she receives a terminal diagnosis, but when she recovers, her attempts to have her clone decommissioned fails, leading her to a court-mandated duel to the death. I was really, really excited for this one, and it's unfortunate how not satisfied I was afterward. Baker, let's go ahead and start with you and see what you think. Beaumont, I know that you have a lot to say. I'm looking forward to those thoughts. So let's start with Baker. Let's get some input from him, and then we'll proceed from there.
All right. I did not like this movie. Yeah. I also did not hate it. It's kind of exactly what Riley Stearns, in my opinion, does. He is like this perpetually depressed guy, and he shows us different representations of the meaninglessness that he seems to find in life through these films. And they're weirdly toned. You know, I've heard people reference Yorgos Lanthimos's work in reference to this one, and while I disagree, I understand why they're making that likening. I think that the comedic dullness that he was going for, like the monotony out of the characters, doesn't work in the film. The restrictiveness and the like atonality of just the whole piece didn't work for me in any meaningful way. But he nonetheless creates a film that's competently made. He stages his shots really interestingly. There's a few where there's figures that start in like the corners of frame and they walk perfectly in line to come closer to the camera while there's a separate subject that's in focus. There's like really interesting direction that he offers. It's just not a film that I resonated with at all.
Beaumont, what do you think?
Yeah, on the same page for sure. This was definitely one of the films with the premise that kind of hooked me the most. I'm a little burnt out on like kind of weird not dystopia, but like just kind of, you know, these sci-fi premises where of doubles and cloning and you know, weird, idealistic societies where everything's very regimented and so forth. So yeah, I was still sold on this. I was still kind of on board. I wasn't too familiar with Riley Stern's work going in, so I went a little blind, kind of just off the synopsis alone. And yeah, I mean, there was a lot to kind of sink your teeth into at the beginning, and I was definitely kind of on board. I definitely thought this film, like, by far, has some of like the funniest lines throughout the movie that the other movies I felt haven't had. Like, I just endlessly quotable stuff. What was the one that I like? If it's a difference between life and death, it's okay to be boring. Was Aaron Paul's line in that. Just lots of good, and of course, it's all that kind of monotonous, like, deadpan delivery, which of course, isn't for everyone. I understand how a lot of people kind of would look at a movie like this and just be like, this is not for me, turning it off. But if you're on board with it, yeah, this is a pretty funny movie consistently throughout. Like when she puts like a $1.34 on the gas and then like fills it, it's like done. I'm like, yeah, that's what will happen.
Sounds right.
Yeah, in Vancouver. But yeah, it just totally fizzled and flopped at the end, and it didn't amount to anything that really stuck with me after that runtime. I was just like, oh, is that it? And it was it. And I was just like, oh, okay. Moving on, I guess. Yeah, it doesn't have that follow through. Whereas, it has a cold opening like that with the actual duel, which is just like, that grabs you right at the beginning. And then you're like, okay, this is something. And then, yeah, it just kind of does away with all that. It reminded me a lot of The Art of Self-Defense as well. I don't know if you guys have seen that one.
That's a Riley Stern film. Yep.
Oh, sorry, that is him. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Which is why it's so familiar. See, I went into this loving The Art of Self-Defense. And so that's one of the reasons that I was super excited for this, because The Art of Self-Defense, I think, does such a great job taking these things that he does in Duel, but I think to a better, there's more purpose to it, right? I did this unfortunate thing where I went back and watched The Art of Self-Defense after Duel, and hated Duel even more, because because what he did with themes and tropes and rules all came back around in the end. And so I expected that in this movie, where there was going to be some punch at the end, forget the pun, but like something at the end that really kind of puts an exclamation point on everything, like he did with The Art of Self-Defense. But yeah, like you're saying, Beaumont, it just fizzled. Sorry, I'll let you finish. I just had to throw that out there because I love The Art of Self-Defense. I was a big fan of that film.
Okay. No, that was basically what I was going to say. It reminded me of that film, and obviously now I realize why I should have known that. And yeah, I mean, I got Yorgos Lanthimos vibes from it as well. Obviously, with Lanthimos films, there's I think there's more going on here than what was going on here. But yeah, and just in the fact that they chose to shoot it in Finland was kind of cool, because it's supposed to be, as the director said in the Q&A, like, it was supposed to be set in the US somewhere, but it like, by shooting it in Finland, it just kind of did give it this kind of slightly otherworldly, slightly like alternate timeline kind of view of humanity that was kind of interesting. Even though I didn't feel like they explored the world that much, it was kind of like nondescript locations mostly that it felt like they were in. Yeah, and then I like the lead. Her name's escaping me right now, but yeah, like, I think
Karen Gillan.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like, I think she does a good job, and like, yeah, like, the way she delivers her lines, it's you get some good laughs from her throughout. But then you got like Aaron Paul in there, and while his character obviously added some funny bits to it as well, like, it was, at the end of the day, like, his character didn't substantiate too much either, so it was just like, this character's just thrown in just for a few gags, basically, is kind of what it felt like. And so Yeah, it
You
just
guys didn't like the Karen, Jill, and Aaron Paul dance more than the After Yang dance?
no, the dance scenes goes after Yang for me. But shout out this film for throwing in Get Low.
Yeah.
You know, let's throw it back. I haven't heard that in a film in a while. So
yeah, I wish I could say that I liked this film. I enjoyed the ride, but I think that it just the concept wasn't fleshed out well enough. I think I think that I had fun with it for the first act, as Beaumont mentioned, that cold open with the duel that happens. I think that was a fantastic introduction to the concept. And then it jumps into Karen Gillan's story, and I think that she does what she can with the material that she's given. It took some time to acclimate to her version of deadpan delivery. And at first I'm like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong with her? Why is this performance not really coming out? But then you realize, okay, this is just the style, and that's just how she's doing it here. So you have to acclimate to that. And yeah, there are some funny parts. There are parts that I laughed out loud. I do happen to like this style of this Riley Stern style of storytelling, and I was with it up until the end, where I'm waiting for this twist, or this ultimate point that's made, and it just doesn't happen, and unless I'm missing, because I watched the Q&A specifically to figure out what I missed. Maybe there is something that I overlooked, or that happened that I didn't connect with, but it doesn't have the I guess that the Art of Self-Defense did. Like I said, I went back and rewatched the Art of Self-Defense. And it's like, this is brilliant. You did such a great job, like making everything that is introduced throughout the movie make sense in the end. In this film, there's a whole bunch of points that are put in that honestly really parallel with the premise of the Art of Self-Defense, when it comes to combat training, when it comes to having rules set, when it comes to there's just so much that is in line with what he did with the Art of Self-Defense, except for the payoff. There just wasn't a payoff. There was just this hard stop, and it's like, oh, okay. I went to Twitter and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll move on to the next movie. And I think that was the sentiment among most people. So anyway, any last thoughts about Duel?
This is his third feature film, and I think that decidedly out on the Riley Stearns as director camp. I'll probably still check in with his projects, but I'm done hoping or expecting for him to get me.
I'll have to go watch Faults. I have not seen Faults yet, and I should have checked that out just to see what other motifs that are common among all three films. So I'll probably do that and then make a decision. I just think he succeeded so well with Art of Self-Defense that maybe there's a chance he'll come back and do something creative. But I think this one lacked creativity. So, all right, one more to talk about. I'm sure we're all gonna love talking about this one. The last film we'll discuss in this mid-festival video is Cha Cha Real Smooth, the sophomore film from Cooper Raiff, starring Cooper Raiff and Dakota Johnson. Short synopsis reads: a young man who works as a bar mitzvah party host strikes up a friendship with a mother and her autistic daughter. This movie. All right, who wants to start on this one? I don't even know where to start here.
You do.
I do. I love this movie. I love this movie so much. It just has all the feels. Leading up to this film, so we had gotten through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'm hearing a lot of like, where's the coda of the festival? Is there no coda? Is there no universally appreciated film? And I'm like, wait. Cha Cha Real Smooth has not come out yet. Okay, let's wait for Cha Cha Real Smooth. I had the pleasure of watching Shithouse for the first time last week because Baker told me to, and it was a very good recommendation because having seen Shithouse and having loved Shithouse, wonderful debut. I then got to go into this with really high expectations, like I did with When You Finish Saving the World and with Duel. The difference is that this one is really, really good. It has all the feels that I wanted out of the film, all the character development, all the complexities.
I'll be right back. Sorry.
Yeah. All the complexities that that I could have hoped for in writing characters. It's so wonderful.
I think that it's not just the way that the characters are written, but the way that they're edited into the film. There's a striking composition or striking compositional understanding that Rafe seems to have, where he can have 7 minutes probably total with Lola, the autistic daughter, as you described in the synopsis, but have her feel like one of the most crucial characters in the film, that's more fleshed out than you would see in so many other filmmakers that would attempt to perhaps make a film like this. And she just feels like a real person. And when there's a certain point in the film where we lose her, and the amount of emotionality that loss has is almost on par with the equal loss that had just occurred moments before we kind of visualized the loss of her relationship with Cooper's character Andrew. There's just a swell of these side characters, whether it's the stepdad or his own little brother, that though they're only there for a handful of minutes, feel like fully realized real people that live in this world outside of the life that we're following of the main character Andrew.
Yeah, that's a fantastic way of putting it. It's just, it's wonderful. Beaumont, what did you think?
I thought this one was a charmer. Yeah, definitely got on board with it. It's sweet, it's funny, a very endearing film. There's I guess a certain part of me that's like is a little jaded, so I'm a little like, I don't like how things all work out for everyone at the end, or kind of thing. No, I really liked it. I liked the performances. Dakota Johnson, I'm excited to see her second film, Sundance, real soon as well. But yeah, I thought she was great in this. I thought it was great how I just couldn't get her character tied down at first. I was just like, what kind of character is this? Like, what does she want really? Like, seems like she's going this direction, but then she goes another direction. And I think that's just good writing. It just shows how, it speaks to how complex she is and how many layers there are going on there. Yeah, the main character of Andrew, I don't know. This guy's kind of a dork, man. Like, how does he?
Very much.
How has he got like girls on the go, man? He's kind of he gave off like camp counselor vibes. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but like, how is this guy like?
Cool youth pastor.
All you have to do, if you're a dork, if you're a dork, all you have to do is write the movie.
I guess so, right? Like that's
and then you can get Dakota Johnson to produce and star in it.
Is that what he's doing? Is that his master plan? Because I guess you gotta respect that.
You know what I was surprised about? So yes, I absolutely agree. Dakota Johnson's character, it's so complex. You think that she's going to fit this particular archetype of the committed woman who doesn't really want to be in the relationship but is for the stability, but really wants to be out. And there's parts of that, but there's also this extra layer of, no, I actually do want to be in this relationship, and I like you, and there's this grappling with the concept of love between Andrew and this family and her. There is so many layers to it, which is fantastic to see that it's not fitting characters into labels or archetypes. There is more complexity to people in the real world, and so I loved having that real world components in how these characters behave, how they feel, how they express themselves. It's so organic and authentic and endearing. It's wonderful. But also what I was really surprised about is Cooper Rafe's acting. So he in Shithouse, he was this really kind of shy guy, and I expected him to come back with the same kind of role. or the same kind of personality. And it's not. It's a completely different role. He plays a character that's much more outgoing. He's still dorky, but he's much more outgoing. He has a social life in this. He's more he connects with people better, and so it's nice to see him be able to take on separate roles and to be able to do different things with who he plays. I do wonder what this means for the future of him as an actor, and I'm interested in seeing what he does next already. I will watch Cha Cha Real Smooth many more times, and I can see this being just like, I don't know, does it have distribution yet? Do we know that yet? No, I could see this
just
like
had its premiere.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this like being the opening and closing film of like dozens of festivals. Like this just has that that feel good, crowd pleasing nature to it. And I think that we're going to see this one a lot throughout the year at festivals, if it doesn't get picked up and distributed before then.
I think this is one of those Apple TV acquisitions. Honestly, it feels like a
Coda.
very approachable family movie that's really personal. One of the things that I find fascinating and really exciting is that I believe he was 22 when he wrote this film.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that he's already writing about, female characters that are that complex in this way, and giving them all this leash to correctly and beautifully play characters. It's awesome to watch him write and direct himself, but what he's been able to do with Dylan Galula in Shithouse, and what I think is probably her career best role, and then with Dakota Johnson here, which is one of her best roles, as out of the films that I've seen her in that aren't, Suspiria or The Lost Daughter, these multi-million-dollar big budget pictures. It's just thrilling to watch such a young artist with so much talent and sincerity rise to the occasion and not be disillusioned or like self-aggrandizing, but instead be really sincere and have flawed moments. I've heard some people reacting negatively to this film saying, as Beaumont mentioned, that like, how is he getting so lucky and like doing all this stuff right? But there's like this underlying alcoholism. There's the moments where he actually messes up and then he sincerely apologizes and owns up to it. There's the fact that he has to move out of his parents' house and that the relationship that's central to the film is severed from him. Like, he is not winning. He's just showing up and going through the hard stuff, even though it's hard. And I think that saying that he's really lucky, or that he's kind of pulling off Keke Palmer, is not an accurate assessment of the film, and it's really reductive to the actual events that happen in it. But then it has, like, for me, the most laughs. I know that you guys like Duel, but I mean the fist fight with the kids and the parents, like that just had me giggling. And then post-coital, he has sex with that girl that he had taught or whatever at college, and then she's talking about how unattractive she used to find him, and it was just like the coldest burn. Like, he's sitting there naked in her bed and she's just like laying it on him, and then before that she was texting on her phone, like totally ignoring him. There's just a lot of moments in this movie that I loved, and it's the first, like, I guess, vibe movie where it ended and I just really wanted to start it back up again. And like you with Fresh, Beaumont, I was like, all right, well, we're gonna write about this right now.
I am so I really crammed my schedule today, and I followed Cha Cha up with Resurrection, which is jarring.
It's a very different movie. You go from a really blissfully happy to I don't know what's real anymore, and is everybody the worst.
It was a very, very jarring transition, and I probably should have planned that better. But when I made my calendar, I had not seen Shithouse yet. And so I really didn't even know what I was getting into with Cha Cha Real Smooth. Baker was just saying it was good, or it's going to be good, and so I'm like, okay, cool, I'll go to ticket.
And I was right.
And you were right. It is Cha Cha is currently my favorite film of the festival. And we'll see how the other two standouts in my head, how they all kind of age over this next week. So they're all going to stay in the top three. I really don't think anything else is going to crack top three for me. I think I have that pretty locked in. But this was a very, very wonderful experience, and I'm happy to have experienced it, and I'm interested in seeing where it goes and what it does, and where Cooper Reef goes with his career from here.
I thought You Won't Be Alone was your favorite film.
You know what? It was. I'm thinking about it more. I'm thinking about it more because I have to take into account that
Thomas has 7 favorites. Okay.
Yeah.
No. I only have 3, but I have
Today's Sunday, you idiot.
I have to take into account like recommendability. Like, is this a movie that I would tell people, yeah, you should really go watch this? And while You Won't Be Alone is a masterpiece, it's so wonderful. It took me 30 minutes to actually connect with that film. And like I said earlier, I don't think I named it, but this was a film where if I had been given 15 minutes to duck out and save the ticket, I probably would have. I did not connect with that movie at all for the first 15 minutes because I didn't understand it. I just had no idea what was going on. Like, and I read that synopsis, you know, and like I was supposed to know what was going on. And but it is the biggest flip I've probably ever done in a film. Like, I was really ready to turn that off and just got to the end of it like, wow, that was amazing. Anyway, we will talk more about that probably on our wrap-up video. But for the rest of the festival, so like I mentioned at the beginning, there's still some premieres to be had, and then of course second screenings to have. Is there anything that is standing out to you guys for the rest of the festival that you're really looking forward to before the festival concludes?
Let me just chime in one more time on Cha-Cha. All right.
Oh, Cha-Cha. Oh, I'm sorry. I moved on too quick. My bad.
One thing that while it's on the nose, I found really beautifully pulled off is the foreshadowing exposition of the film, where Andrew is young and he's attending the bar mitzvah, and he is in love with this older woman, and he pulls his mom aside and tells her that he's in love, and she has this very sweet moment with him, and then he's let down by her at her car. I think that just the foreshadowing and the way that that's mirrored, even though it is directly on the nose, was really wonderfully pulled off.
You know what? I didn't even think about that. Like, you're totally right. There's that foreshadowing. I know, right? Holy shit, that did happen. I love it. And foreshadowing and bringing things full circle really wins a lot of points with me in a film. And now
if you don't notice it.
But not if you don't know. But now I have noticed it, and that only solidifies its first place position even more. So thank you for that. Beaumont, did you want to chime in one more time on that one?
Sorry, what I'm anticipating, or
sorry. Well, I didn't know if you went, because apparently I moved on from Cha-Cha too quickly. We could probably talk for days about that one, but anything you want to chime in lastly on Cha-Cha, and if not, what are you looking forward to?
No, I'll just say Cha-Cha was real delightful. It had maybe my favorite line of the festival so far, which I think is Dakota Johnson's line. I'm probably messing up the line, but she says, "Until I leave Earth, I'm always going to have been so tangled," or something like that. And it's just like a great like summary of her character, and just a beautiful kind of poetic line in general. Kind of, I wrote it down immediately once I heard it, and that just kind of it hit for me, because it's a simplistic way of kind of saying what we're all going through, but it's still a meaningful way of putting it. We're all going through things, and that's what we're gonna do. Anyways, yeah. In terms of what I'm anticipating still, definitely Resurrection. Hoping to actually watch that later tonight, after Euphoria, of course.
After Euphoria. And priorities.
Yeah, got my priorities right. You're alone. You're also alone. What's that movie?
You won't be alone.
You won't be alone. Yes, sorry.
Can I come up and watch it too? I just want to see that movie again so badly.
I'm also kind of excited for The Cow Who Sang a Song into the Future. I'm really excited for this premise, and it just I'm expecting kind of like a really kind of trippy mood kind of piece, but I honestly don't know what to expect, so I'm looking forward to it. And another Dakota Johnson on the way. Am I okay? Excited for that. That's there's other things. I'm really playing catch up a lot of this these last 3 days. I'm just gonna kind of marathon the films that I booked second screenings for and just hope to find something gold. So yeah.
Nice. Baker, what are you looking forward to?
I will echo the cow who sang a song into the future. I'm probably going to get to that one next after we end recording here. Fingers crossed on that one. As far as a movie that I'm going to watch, and I think I'm just going to have a good time, Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul, the second Regina Hall picture at the festival. I'm looking forward to. Also looking forward to seeing Dakota Johnson again tomorrow with Am I Okay? The premiere is at 1:00 PST. And then Aubrey Plaza and Emily the Criminal. I'm hopeful that that's just going to be a fun picture to relax as we head towards the end of the festival with, as I sit through the 4-hour film / mini series we need to talk about Cosby.
I've said this before. I really hope that wins an award so I can watch it on Saturday or Sunday. Give it something. Give it best episodic something or other. Yeah. Something that it'll win easily so that I can watch it. And
obviously you won't be alone. That's what I'm waking up tomorrow with. Gosh, I'm gonna have my coffee and watch it.
The first thing we talk about in the wrap-up video is You Won't Be Alone.
I hope that I hate it just so that we can have a divisive conversation.
I will punch you through the screen and we'll get lots of clicks for that, because
I look forward to that technology.
Yeah.
What about you, Thomas? What are you most anticipating?
Yeah, when I hang up from here, I'm going to take it easy and watch Lucy and Desi, which I have actually heard nothing about. The premiere happened yesterday. And I mean, I'm not actively searching for anything, but when I scroll through Twitter, I see reactions to things, and I just have not seen Lucy and Desi show up. So I don't know if people just aren't prioritizing it, or if people are so lukewarm about it that it's not worth posting. I have no idea. But I do have that ticket and I want to see it. So I'll probably, after marathoning movies today, a nice easy documentary will be a nice way to end today. And then a lot of the same things you guys are talking about. I don't think I will get to the cow movie, the really long title.
The cow who sang a song into the future.
That one. I don't think I'm going to get to that, so I'm just going to have to take your guys' word for it. But I do have some extra tickets.
It's only 93 minutes.
Ooh, okay.
It's a 90-minute festival.
Yes, it is. It's crazy.
Based on the synopsis, if I'm recalling correctly, a lady wakes up in the water and then maybe kills people.
Oh, interesting.
So Cody might like it.
You know what? So I might have time to. Okay, I will retract my statement and rephrase. I might get to the cow who did a ditty into
a song for the future.
Okay.
You don't listen to the cows play songs, Thomas?
No,
gosh.
I don't. When did that band come out? I don't know. Yeah, so Lucy and Desi, and like you said, Honk for Jesus, Emily the Criminal. I think the only one that wasn't mentioned among you guys was Blood. I don't actually know if I've locked down my ticket, but in Baker, in our opening video, I had talked about how I'm on the fence, because we had mentioned that director has had a kind of a hit or miss career, and I still have no idea how to feel about that
career.
A miss. I think Rotten Tomatoes says he has some fresh stuff out there. I can't remember
so
what it
reliable.
Standard units of measurement. We have to use something, right? But I am still hopeful that maybe that's one worth using a ticket on. So like I said, I still have a few tickets to use. I don't think I locked one down for that yet, but I'm waiting to hear reactions to it so that I can decide if I do want to spend an evening on it. But I think that's still the biggest wild card for me. And so I know this isn't the question, but the one that I'm a little disappointed about having a ticket for is Babysitter. I'm not hearing great things about that one. So
I'm gonna give it a chance, because I gotta give Canadian content a chance always. So.
Perfect. I'm gonna let you do that.
Yeah, I can cover that. That's fine.
Great.
I'll follow that grenade, or I'll discover a gem. You never know.
You know what? If it's a gem, then I have the ticket and I will follow up. But I'm gonna wait for Beaumont's official word on that. So, Okay, let's wrap up. We still have stuff to get to this evening. Baker, how can people find all this great content that you're going to be publishing and have been publishing for Sundance?
Go to drinkinthemovies.com. Everything you want is there. Everything you need is there. There's a whole page. Just click festival. Bam. Done.
Bam.
Settled.
Beaumont, what plugs do you want to put out there?
Well, of course, ForReel movie news and reviews. Moviesforreal.net is where all the content will be coming in terms of this festival and beyond. I'm hoping to just get a lot more output in terms of writing beyond festivals this year. So look out.
Yeah,
for
you
that.
and me both.
Yeah, no, but I mean it this time.
You mean it?
For real this time.
For real. I love it. Love the plug. But you know how many years I've been saying that. So hopefully you're more successful at it.
No. I've got plans. I got things in the works. So
awesome.
Yeah, more stuff coming in general. And on Twitter, Instagram, all those things at Best Reel, best with 2 T's, REAL.
So humble. Maybe the most humble.
That's funny. Yep, as Beaumont said, ForReel content can be found on moviesforreal.net. ForReel, of course, spelled FORREEL. You can also connect with ForReel on Twitter and Instagram at moviesforreal. And then, of course, connect with me personally on Twitter and Instagram as well at beingtsj. So awesome. Gents, thank you for joining me on this. And for everyone out there listening, until next time, keep it for real.